Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Tales of Herding Gods based on novel. So let's start. Truly a beautiful world. Wang Muren, Tao Master Lin Xian, and the rest admired the magnificence of Supreme Emperor Heaven. There were two suns in the sky, which made them exclaim endlessly in awe. Far in the distance, huge sacrificial altars sent black light into the clouds. The group had no idea that such a thing was an abnormal sight caused by the descending of the devil ancestors. When I heard that the sun was unbearable to look at, I didn't dare to come, Tao Master Lin Xian said with a smile. Only now that Imperial Preceptor has begun his reconstruction did I dare to enter. They came to the outskirts of Li City where many soldiers came over to check them. When they heard that they were divine arts practitioners of eternal peace, they hurriedly said, "There have been numerous devils coming out recently, so we had no choice but to tighten the security, pardon us." Wang Muren looked around and saw the army training outside the city. Battle flags were waving in the wind while divine arts practitioners were running like wolves and rushing through a huge formation like wild boars. Their cultivations were all remarkable, and their battle power was extremely strong, making him eager to test himself. "Muren, calm down," Hermit Qin Mu said. "The legacy of Supreme Emperor Heaven is complete and a level higher than that of eternal peace. Even though you have gained an inheritance from Fungo, you are still inferior to the divine arts practitioners of Supreme Emperor Heaven. If you want to exchange pointers with someone, you need to find a divine arts practitioner that's a realm lower than you." Wang Muren was unwilling to accept that and shook his head. "Senior uncle, besides Cult Master Qin, I haven't lost to anyone on the same realm in eternal peace." Tao Master Lin Xian raised his eyebrows and gave a cough. Wang Muren looked at him and spoke at a pace that was neither too fast nor too slow. "Does Tao Master Lin Xian has any opinion?" Tao Master Lin Xian smiled and said, "If we haven't fought before, how do you know you don't lose to anyone?" The light in Wang Muren's eyes grew brighter. "You are right. You and I are both leaders in Heaven Alliance, yet we had never fought before. You are the Tao Master of Tao Sect after all, so your position is way higher than mine. I'm merely a student of Little Jade Capital. However, the higher you are, the lesser you actually require to fight. I wonder if you can even fight anymore. You have fought many people, but they were all weaker than you. Sometimes, a battle with a strong practitioner can surpass 100 with ordinary people. What does Senior Brother Muren think?" Tao Master Lin Xian said leisurely. The two of them were blazing with fighting spirit and were about to make their moves when an astonishing rumble rang out. They saw two female generals fighting in the formation. They were Princess Yuxiu of Eternal Peace and Saintess Sai Yunxiang of Heavenly Saint Cult. The two women were in charge of training different camps, and they fought fiercely from the first minute they clashed. Ling Yuxiu raised her foot to give a heavy stomp, and mud flew into the sky. Countless bolts of lightning instantly appeared in the sky, and they formed a huge whirlpool. Lightning green dragons danced within it. Boom! The two women collided, and lightning struck around them. Ling Yuxiu swung her hammer, and countless lightning green dragons descended from the sky. Various divine arts exploded. Their power was so great that Wang Muren and Tao Master Lin Xian's eyelids twitched furiously. The path Ling Yuxiu had taken was the fusion of battle techniques and Tao spells. By hiding spell divine arts in her battle technique, she used lightning to refine her body, and her magic power was incomparably dense. The power of her divine arts was truly terrifying. Sai Yunxiang, who was fighting against her, had taken the path of hiding swords in her divine arts. She had inherited the strong points of Heavenly Saint Cult's divine arts, their strangeness and unpredictability. In terms of cultivation, she was inferior to Ling Yuxiu, but by combining all kinds of divine arts of Heavenly Saint Cult, she could burst forth with extraordinary power. How biased of Cult Master to impart Ancestral Dragon Supreme Mystery Technique to you. Lassie Xiao, even if you kill me, I am still the genuine Cult Mistress. Lassie Xiong, you are the Cult Mistress? I was the one that got married first, so you are the second one at most. We were childhood sweethearts with the cowherd boy and have long exchanged tokens of love. This huge hammer was given to me by him. Pa? What kind of token of love is a huge hammer? Cult Master is then bound to me for life since he gave me his junior protector sword. Pa? You clearly extorted it from him and even sold it afterward. Dao Master Lin Xian, Wang Muren, and the rest stood with their eyes wide open. All kinds of divine arts and skills were exploding in the battle formations of the two girls. Their power was truly terrifying. It was just that they allowed their anger to get the better of them, and when the battle formations changed, they just continued to fight instead of following up. Suddenly, a young girl with long braids came between the two of them and separated them. Sisters, this is a practice and not a real life and death fight. Sanghua, are you going to interfere? The three girls fought until heaven fell and earth rent. Lin Xian and Wang Muren looked at each other in astonishment, their hearts were heavy. They didn't recognize Sanghua, but they were very familiar with Cai Yunxiang and Ling Yuxiu. These two girls were also members of Heaven Alliance, and even though they were outstanding, their abilities had been slightly inferior to theirs. Ling Yuxiu and Cai Yunxiang had entered Supreme Emperor Heaven earlier than them, and in just 1 month, their cultivation had improved to the point they would have never imagined. This really put a lot of pressure on them. Just a month of not seeing them, and we might not be able to defeat them. Why should we even fight over who is stronger? Dao Master Lin Xian smiled bitterly. We should be obedient students and study Supreme Emperor Heaven's path of cultivation. Wang Muren nodded. For Princess Xiao and Saintess Xiong to have such drastic improvements in such a short time, there has to be a huge deficiency in Eternal Peace's cultivation system. As long as we patch this weakness, our abilities will also have a chance to take a large leap. The battle formation changed, and more troops joined the battlefield. Dao Master Lin Xian looked over and saw numerous Eternal Peace's scholars training with the troops. The abilities of Wei Yong, Qin Yu, Chen Wanyun, Yu Qinghong, and the rest had also improved tremendously. The rise in their battle prowess was extremely huge. This pressured the two young men even more. Xu Shenghua entered Supreme Emperor Heaven a few days earlier than us, and he is a very clever fellow. I reckon he has already grasped the marvel of Supreme Emperor Heaven's cultivation and passed the test of God Suppression Pagoda with ease. They walked into the city and saw numerous school halls of Heavenly Saint Academy on both sides of the street. The scholars inside them were listening to the path of cultivation being taught by strong practitioners of Divine Bridge Realm and the gods of Supreme Emperor Heaven. Cult Master Qin really knows how to grab onto personal benefits. Dao Master Lin Xian was stunned for a moment, then he said to the old Taoists and nuns beside him, "Our Tao sect is too shut off. We have to learn Supreme Emperor Heaven's path of cultivation, otherwise we will never be able to raise our heads from under the pressure of Heavenly Saint cult. Cult Master Qin's methods are good, and as long as they are useful, we shall learn from them." Dan Yangzi and the rest acknowledged. After passing by a palace, they heard Buddha voices reverberating in the air. Inside, eminent monks of Great Thunderclap Monastery were sitting in a hall. In the center of them was Rulai Ma. Numerous eminent monks chanted the Buddha incantations and layers of Buddha heavens hovered above their heads. The 20 heavens became more and more real. The Buddhas, gods, bodhisattvas on each heaven grew discernible, as if they were walking into reality from emptiness. "Senior uncle, what are they doing?" Wang Muren asked Hermit Qing Yu. Opening a passage to Buddha realm, Hermit Qing Yu explained. According to the records of Little Jade Capital, Buddhism has its own world which is called Heavens of Buddhism. During founding Emperor era, numerous Buddhas levitated heavenwards to Heavens of Buddhism and left Great Thunderclap Monastery. After founding Emperor era ended, the road to Buddha realm was broken. With even the sky being fake, since it was a huge seal, it was natural for them to be unable to go to Buddha realm. However, the world barrier of Supreme Emperor Heaven is incomparably thin, so Rulai Ma must be planning to open up the Heavens of Buddhism here and establish contact with the ancient Buddhas. Rulai Ma is planning to find the follow-up technique to Rulai's Mahayana Sutra. Long Yu asked. Hermit Qing Yu nodded. Most likely. Rulai's Mahayana Sutra can only be cultivated to 20 heavens. The moment anyone enters the Buddha realm, there are no more follow-up techniques. Rulai Ma's has great ambition, so he must be doing this for the path of cultivation to the heavens after Rulai's Mahayana Sutra. Dao Master Lin Xian was very envious and asked Dan Yangzi, "Senior uncle, does our Dao sect have a Dao realm?" Dan Yangzi shook his head. "I've never heard of one before." Dao Master Lin Xian's shoulders slumped, and he sighed. When the ancestors don't work hard, the descendants suffer. Weren't the past Dao Masters too indifferent to worldly rewards? If we don't work hard, we are going to be defeated by Great Thunderclap Monastery. How are we going to continue to be the sacred ground of Taoism? Dao sect can't continue being so slack. Dan Yangzi whispered, "Dao Master, even though our Dao sect doesn't have heavens like Dao realm, we have gods that attained the Dao hiding in everyone else's heavens. This Supreme Emperor Heaven is also a big heaven, so it should have experts of our Dao sect. As long as we find one, we will be able to complete the cultivation system of our Dao sect's Taoism and make the 14 writings of Dao Sword complete. We can even receive the complete pre-celestial supreme mystery technique." Dao Master Lin Xian's spirit rose, but he soon became dejected once again. "There's definitely no experts of our Dao sect here, otherwise, how would the algebra here be so bad?" While they were speaking, a god of Supreme Emperor Heaven walked over while wearing a Dao robe and holding a horsetail whisk in his hand. With an air of an immortal, he asked, "A fellow friends people of Dao sect?" Dao Master Lin Xian and the rest of the Taoists of Dao sect were overjoyed. Lin Xian hurriedly returned the greeting and asked in a trembling voice, "Junior Lin Xian is ashamed to be the Dao Master of Dao sect. Is Senior an expert who had attained the Dao of our Dao sect?" Delighted, the god of Supreme Emperor Heaven said, "You are indeed from Dao sect. I'm also considered from Dao sect. My name is Cha, while name in religion is Daoist Cha. I was originally a strange beast guarding the gates of Kunlun, but when the disaster struck, I followed Daoist Qingqian to attain the Dao. After he died in battle, I remained in this Supreme Emperor Heaven." All of the Taoists stared with their eyes wide open, not knowing what to do. Apparently, there was indeed an expert of Dao sect in Supreme Emperor Heaven, but he was a strange beast who had guarded the gate before attaining the Dao. This meant that he wasn't proficient in pre-celestial supreme mystery technique and Dao sword. That was because all of Dao sect's ultimate arts were built on top of the foundation of algebra, and since Supreme Emperor Heaven's algebra was so bad, it was completely impossible for any profound algebra to have been passed down. Daoist Cha had to have mostly relied on other techniques to attain the Dao. The Taoists were all disappointed, but Dao Master Lin Xian forced a smile. "It's been hard on Senior Cha these years. Could Senior make things convenient for us and help our Dao sect settle down? These few are Dao friends of Little Jade Capital, and they temporarily also don't have a place to settle down." Daoist Cha smiled at them. "This is simple. Cult Master Qin and Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor instructed that as long as those who come are friends from Eternal Peace, we must not be complacent. Come to think of it, you guys know Cult Master Qin, right? Truly a strange man, his reputation is illustrious in our Supreme Emperor Heaven and his position is extraordinary. I've heard he is even the Heavenly Saint Cult Master, born as a saint and the famous Overlord body. Many people admire his reputation and so have gone to seek a place in Heavenly Saint cult." Dao Master Lin Xian looked at him with a weird expression while cursing in his heart. "Isn't it just a devil cult? Heavenly Saint cult started from Heavenly Teacher who is extremely famous, but our Dao sect can't be pushed down by them. That's right, before Daoist Qianqing died in battle, he left some things with me. I have always kept them safe," said Daoist Cha. Dao Master Lin Xian and the rest were delighted. Daoist Cha took off the Dao crown from his head and gently spun the yin-yang taiji diagram on it. He took out some books, a fork, and a few pieces of stone wall with sword traces on them. The fork was probably his divine weapon. "I have always kept these books with me, but I don't understand their strange symbols," he said. Thick white hair grew from the front of his head to the back while the hair at his temples was black in color. Unlike other Taoists who had their hair worn in a coil, he had a flat-top haircut. The white hair on the top of his head was shaved neatly and made him look very lively. The flat-top Daoist stabbed the fork back into his Dao crown and sealed it up with the Taiji seal before putting the crown back on his head. Dao Master Lin Xian flipped through the books and examined the sword traces on the stone slabs. His heart pounded furiously. and he couldn't help shedding a tear. My master and the past Tao masters have been studying the 14th sword for their entire lives, but they could never comprehend it completely. It turns out that the profound theory didn't lie in the sword, but in the astronomical phenomenon. If Master was still alive, he would have been very glad. Numerous Taoists remembered the past Tao Master and cried. Once Tao Master Lin Xian glanced through the books, he passed them to everyone. They contained pre-celestial supreme mystery technique and the learnings of Daoist Qing Qian after he had studied the follow-up sword skills of Tao sword. Daoist Qian Qing had recorded everything in fine detail, and his calculations were very meticulous. It was no wonder then that Daoist Cha couldn't understand them. Senior Uncle Qing Yu, does our little jade capital have any profound inheritance? Wang Muren asked in a low voice. Hermit Qing Yu shook his head. We don't. Isn't our little jade capital the #1 sacred ground in eternal peace? Tao Sect and Great Thunderclap Monastery both have even more profound inheritances, but our little jade capital doesn't, so how are we supposed to fight against them? Even Heavenly Saint Cult has a heavenly teacher, so how could our little Jade capital not have got level techniques passed down by strong practitioners like Jade Emperor and so on? Wang Muren said with anger his voice. Our little Jade capital has always stood aloof from worldly affairs and never fought for the title of the #1 sacred ground, Hermit Qing Yu said patiently. It is a false reputation that the people of the world have given us, it'd be better if we didn't have it. Wang Muren was speechless from anger, and he could only turn to ask Daoist Cha from helplessness. Daoist, may I ask where is Cult Master? Cult Master Qin? Many people have been looking for him today, and they are all weird people, there's even one riding on a bull. However, Cult Master is not in Li City currently. He left a bit earlier saying he was going over to the Devils to train his mount. Wang Muren cried out in astonishment, he went to the territory of the Devils alone. Not really. My Supreme Emperor Heaven has already taken back some territory, and we constructed a sentry tower in Without Embroiling City. God Sangyi is stationed there. Numerous divine arts practitioners of Supreme Emperor Heaven and Eternal Peace are all searching for devil soldiers scattered around there, Daoist Cha explained. There have been no battles recently, so it's still quite peaceful. The armies have yet to make their moves, so it's just the divine arts practitioners of the devils and humans challenging each other at the border. Cult Master Qin will be fine. What he was talking about was an unwritten rule of Supreme Emperor Heaven. Martial custom was prosperous in it, and both devils and humans respected martial power. When there were no large-scale battles, the divine arts practitioners of both sides would roam around, and numerous young devil and human divine arts practitioners would exchange blows. Gods and devils would rarely interfere, allowing the trainees on both sides to clash. This was an extreme way to train the younger generation. It was a well-known thing here, but since had come to Supreme Emperor Heaven for the first time, he still didn't know it. Has Cult Master Qin passed the test of God Suppression Pagoda? Wang Muren asked. Why would he need to? Daoist Cha's expression filled with admiration. The moment he came to Supreme Emperor Heaven, he killed 4 greatest experts in the bet for Li City and forced true devil Fu Rilio's proudest disciple to admit defeat. After that, he became a legend. Later, he was kidnapped by Fu Rilio, escaped and ran for 100,000 miles while nearly killing all of the 6 directions and 7 stars realms disciples of the devil gods. There were even quite a number of celestial being realms disciples that had died under his hands. With Cult Master Qin's abilities, there's no need for him to pass the test of God Suppression Pagoda. Wang Muren's body trembled violently as his expression filled with disbelief. He suddenly turned his head. Senior Uncle, do we really not have any profound inheritance? Hermit Qing Yu smiled at him. Aren't the inheritance of our little jade capital good enough? Even though it has flaws, it has only top-notch techniques. As long as the flaws are patched, you won't be any inferior to Tao Master. And Supreme Emperor Heaven is a good place to do that. You can learn from the strong points of other people and fuse them with the techniques of our little jade capital. There are so many techniques in little jade capital, how could it be an easy task to fuse all of them? Wang Muren muttered to himself. Hermit Qing Yu looked at him with encouragement. When there's a will, there's a way, I view you highly. After you comprehend them well, teach them to me first. I'm old and my mind isn't as clever as that of youngsters like you. Young master, why hasn't Fatty Dragon morphed like Qin Mu? Between Without Embroiling City and Lee City, there were over 2,000 miles of land. Hu Linga followed beside Qin Mu and looked at the dragon Qilin fighting with a strong devil practitioner of Celestial Being Realm. Jiang Miao could morph, so Fatty Dragon should be able to do it too. Qin Mu took in a deep breath, an Overlord Body 3 elixir technique circulated in his body while his vital chi gave off dragon roars. I also don't know. Could he be too fat and unable to morph? It doesn't look like it. I think it's because he is still too lazy. The Qilin bead was extremely strong, so his cultivation was no longer any inferior to that of great experts of life and death realm, yet his overall battle power wasn't high. He was covered in injuries from fighting with a single strong devil practitioner. Qin Mu didn't help but just stood on the side and watched. The other devil expert side also didn't interfere. They just stood and watched the battle. The rules of Supreme Emperor Heaven were very strange. As long as it was an encounter between divine arts practitioners, they would usually fight one-on-one and rarely swarm up. When Qin Mu was escaping for his life during the 100,000 miles and was chased by numerous devil divine arts practitioners, it was different however. The reason behind why the devils didn't abide by the rules and kept swarming him was because the devil gods had laid down an order for him to be killed. The dragon Qilin fought hard. A bit later, he suddenly comprehended the marvel of ancestral dragon supreme mystery technique. He then instantly executed his Qilin bead and changed Qilin fire into countless dragon-shaped flames. They swept at his opponent. Next, his body shook, and the dragon scales flew up, transforming into bright mirrors to reflect the divine art of the opponent. The strong devil practitioner was flustered by having to face his own divine art and the fire dragons. Suddenly, dragon scales flipped over and swirled around him furiously. The strong devil practitioner couldn't unleash any attack, for all divine arts were reflected back by the scales. The area in which they swirled became smaller and smaller. The Qilin bead flew into the surrounded area and shone brightly with flames. A miserable shriek came from inside, and the strong devil practitioner was burned to ashes. The dragon Qilin shook his body and called back his dragon scales. He swallowed down the Qilin bead with surprised delight. He cried out, "Cult Master, I've won! I've finally won for the first time!" Qin Mu was suspicious. Linga, when Fatty Dragon was cultivating with senior brother Tiger, he had never won even once. Hu Linga nodded. Not even once. The Black Tiger God said he was embarrassing at first and wanted him to kowtow and apologize to the devils that had defeated him. Afterwards, the Black Tiger God got used to it, and Fatty Dragon also got used to it. Qin Mu was speechless. The dragon Qilin arrogantly scampered over on the tips of his feet, his tail held up high. He walked a few rounds around Qin Mu and Hu Linga, very pleased with himself. A devil expert walked over from the other side and called out, "Are you Cult Master Qin Mu?" "It is I. May I ask who you are?" Qin Mu said. "A nameless person, farewell." The devil expert separated and left in a hurry, and Qin Mu frowned slightly. The devils were all strong practitioners of Celestial Being Realm, so it would have been very difficult to defeat them by himself. Yet they had made the unwise decision to separate. Wasn't this giving him a chance to get rid of at least one of them? "Young master, the devils seem to be escaping for their lives." Hu Linga took out a huge basin for him to produce some dragon saliva which she would apply on his body. With suspicion, she said, if they combined their powers together, their abilities would probably be greater than ours, yet they fled without a word. Could they be trying to pass information? For safety reasons, we should return to Lee City immediately. Qin Mu raised his eyebrows. If we walk forward, we will reach the sentry of Without Embroiling City. We are too far from Lee City, the sentry tower is closer. With Godsang Yi, mere devils won't dare to come over. He jumped onto the back of the dragon Qilin, and Hu Linga did the same with her basin. The dragon Qilin immediately sprinted toward Without Embroiling City. They were still 200 miles away, but Qin Mu could already see Godsang Yi's aura from afar. It was the divine light giving off by God Seng Yi, and it reached the clouds like a pillar. That was the purpose of a sentry, to show a safe point for Supreme Emperor Heaven's divine arts practitioners that were in the wilderness. If they were in danger, they could head there for protection. Suddenly, a voice filled with delight rang out. "Are you Cult Master Qin?" A small mountain was village in the wilderness around them. There were a few divine arts practitioners of Supreme Emperor Heaven resting their feet there. They were the only people around. The group consisted of familiar faces. One of the girls was called Guan He, who had been introduced to Qin Mu by Yu He, and she was an expert of celestial being realm. She was ranked 9 in Supreme Emperor Heaven on her level, and her abilities were extremely strong. She was the disciple of a god and was proficient in sword skills. Because Qin Mu was expanding Heavenly Saint cult in Supreme Emperor Heaven, he had appointed Guan He as the Hall Master of Sword Hall of the new branch. "Guan He, why are you guys here?" Qin Mu jumped down from the back of the dragon Qilin and looked to the other divine arts practitioners. They were also Hall Masters and Incense Masters of Supreme Emperor Heaven's Heavenly Saint cult. "It's really Cult Master," Guan He said with a smile. "We were training in the vicinity when we encountered some devil experts. One of them was extremely strong, so I had to fight with all I had before executing him." Qin Mu looked in the direction she had pointed and recognized the devil expert as one of those who had escaped. There were still signs of a hard battle in the surroundings. "I see." Qin Mu smiled at her. "Hall Master Guan, it was hard on you. The sky is almost dark and I'm planning to head to the sentry. Do you guys want to tag along?" Guan, his eyes lit up, and she walked over with a smile on her face. "We were also planning on going back." The other people came too, and Qin Mu headed at the front of the group to the sentry inn without embroiling city. Guan He hurriedly came to his side and said with a smile, "Why is Cult Master in such a hurry? We are all experts of the cult, so how could we be afraid of anyone? I was recognized by the devils, and I'm afraid they would inform strong practitioners to intercept me up ahead." Qin Mu smiled at the girl then. "Hall Master Guan, who is your master again? When he introduced you to me, I had forgotten to ask." "My master is Fungo. Cult Master has met her before." "So it's Goddess Fungo." Qin Mu nodded and turned to rest with curiosity. "Hall and Incense Masters, what about your masters?" "We are also disciples of Fungo," one youth said. Qin Mu nodded again and patted the thick neck of the dragon Qilin beside him while saying with a smile, "Hall Master Guan, when you guys were fighting with that strong devil practitioner of celestial being realm, you must have ended the battle quickly. Looking at the traces of divine arts you guys left behind, they aren't from fatal attacks even if they are not simple. The true fatal blow was the sword that pierced the devil's back, killing his primordial spirit straight away. Back then, the distance between Hall Master Guan and that devil expert should have been as close as we are now. From this close-up, Hall Master Guan had killed him." Guan, his expression changed slightly, and a huge Qilin bead suddenly rose into the sky. In an instant, blazing Qilin flames were everywhere, incinerating everything. Among the flames, a flying sword rushed out. Just as the woman executed her sword skill, Qin Mu tapped with his sword fingers the heart of his brows. His sword pellet transformed into dazzling sword light that swept forward, crushing Guan his sword skill and the heart of her brows. Qin Mu pulled back his sword and watched his surroundings, in which Hall Masters and Incense Masters of Heavenly Saint cult were shrieking miserably. The next moment, their heads were cut off by huge dragon scales. The dragon Qilin shook his body and they returned. Qin Mu grabbed his sword pellet and said gently, "Fatty dragon, you have won a few more battles." "Young master, they were the people that those devils wanted to call over." Hu Linga popped her head out from the dragon Qilin's ear. "In that case, Goddess Fungo?" Qin Mu was about to speak when his ears twitched, and he turned around abruptly. "Who's there?" A roe deer ran out from the forest and swayed its little tail while looking at him curiously. It was then followed by a herd of roe deers that ran out from the forest to examine his group curiously. "So it's a bunch of silly roe deers." Qin Mu let out a sigh of relief. The silly roe deers went forward and raised their heads to look at him daringly. Qin Mu shook slightly, and a clear voice suddenly rang out from before him. "Cult Master Qin, you just killed my disciples. Don't you think you should give me an explanation?" Qin Mu took out Sun Jade Eye and Moon Jade Eye in a hurry and erected them behind him. At the same time, flags danced around him, confining all life forms in a radius of 10 steps into the formation. Those were teleportation flags. He needed some time to use the teleportation divine art, so teleportation flags were much more convenient, since he could activate them in an instant and teleport further away. He had made them escape any attacks from gods and devils, so he would be less prone to falling into a situation similar to when he was captured by Fu Rilluo. Even though the teleportation flags were only slightly faster, the slight amount of time could save lives. To his surprise, just as the teleportation flags swirled and the runes on them lit up, they suddenly exploded into pieces. The torn cloth fluttered in the air like butterflies. Only flagpoles were left in the ground. The speed of a god is much faster than I anticipated. Qin Mu didn't waste any time as he activated the 2 jade eyes. The Qi of Supreme Yin transformed into moonlight while the Qi of Supreme Yang transformed into sunlight, and they were both incomparably intense. The 2 jade eyes were in his hands, and he was ready to welcome the enemy anytime. The beams of the jade eyes were thick, and they would sweep through everything in front of him. When the pupils of the 2 jade eyes expanded, they didn't have much power and could only be used as a light source. However, as long as Qin Mu's palms controlled their nerve system, he could change the formations within and condense the light of the 2 stars into one line. The 2 lines of light had the power to injure even gods. He had tested it long ago on the body of dragon-rearing sovereign. Qin Mu examined his surroundings while saying in a solemn voice, "Could you be Goddess Fungo?" "It is I." A woman in snow-white clothing slowly walked over into the moonlight of Sun Jade Eye, and she was a truly beautiful woman. Her hair was coiled into buns before being piled on top of her head, leaning slightly to one side. The movement of her dress was captivating, and the palace cloth on her upper body was quite loose, but her waist was very slender, so slender that an arm could go around it. She had a kind of different bearing, and her eyes were cold. It was as if there was nothing in this world that could move her heart. The corners of Qin Mu's eyes twitched. If such a woman made up her mind about something, it would be very difficult to change. The silly roe deers beside him were completely unafraid of Fungo, who was walking over. They continued to bite on his clothes while licking them with their tongues. There were even a few silly roe deers raising their heads to look at him curiously while a male roe deer bayed at him. Qin Mu acted as if he was facing a great enemy and stared nervously at Fungo, not daring to miss any of her movements. However, the roe deers were pulling too hard, so he had no choice but to pull his clothes back out from their mouths. You! A few male roe deers were angered and they lowered their heads to headbutt him. One of them moved a step back after doing it once to gather energy once again while another followed in his steps. Qin Mu stood as steady as a mountain and let the roe deers headbutt him over and over again. No wonder Grandmaster wanted to attach deer legs to himself. These roe deers are too good at tormenting people. Fungo swept a glance at the roe deers that were attacking Qin Mu, and her gaze fell onto the 2 jade eyes. "Doesn't Cult Master Qin owe me an explanation for killing my disciples? And all of them at once? I only had these few disciples whom I had taught diligently, and yet they were all killed by Cult Master Qin in one go. Even if you are the disciple of Heavenly Teacher, you still have to make yourself clear. Looks like Goddess Fungo has no idea what her disciples have done." The nervous expression on Qin Mu's face vanished, and he let out a huge sigh of relief. With a sincere gaze, he said, "Fungo, your disciple Guan He and the rest had submitted themselves to the devil race and tried to harm me. I had no choice but to be ruthless or my life would have been endangered." Fungo gave an "oh" and said, "Cult Master Qin said my disciples submitted to the devil race, so you definitely have evidence, right?" Qin Mu slowly moved back while holding onto the jade eyes. "Goddess Fungo, please follow me." He walked back step by step, the 2 jade eyes firmly held in his hand so he could react any time. The dragon Qilin also walked back while carrying the little fox. From behind, the 9 silly roe deers were still headbutting them foolishly. They were very stubborn. Qin Mu slowly moved back to the small mountain village and said solemnly, "Fungo, please take a look." Qian Fungo looked at the corpse of the strong devil practitioner of Celestial Being Realm, and her pupils contracted. The traces of divine arts here belong to Fungo's disciples, right? This isn't the divine art of one person, but 5. Guan Yi had told me she fought bitterly with this devil expert and only managed to kill him after some effort, so why are there divine arts of 5 people here? It's also possible that Guan Yi wanted to claim credit, Qian Fungo said indifferently. Can't Goddess Fungo see the lethal blow on the corpse? You are a sword skill expert, so you should be able to see it. For someone to stab the primordial spirit so swiftly, the 2 people have to be an extremely close distance, Qin Mu said solemnly. This video will end here.